Hello, everyone, and welcome to my podcast. My name is Lynette. Today, we're going to talk about something to call your own, and that is your own interest, your own what makes you you, your own thing that stimulates you, your own thing that defines you. And it's not about what somebody else wants. It's not about what somebody else is interested in, because if that were the case, you'd be doing it to impress someone else. And I just want to throw in that those people that are closest to you sometimes think they know what you should be or do or become. And not to say anything is wrong with that. I mean, their intentions are good, but nobody, and I mean nobody, knows what really resonates with your spirit. I believe we all have a calling of some sort, and there's certain things that will resonate with you that make you you. So when you walk into a room, you feel comfortable in your own skin. You feel comfortable with who you are, because this thing, whether you talk about it or not, or whether somebody knows that's who you are or what you do or not, it doesn't matter, because you feel complete within yourself. The interesting thing is when you are doing something and you feel like that's as high as you're going to go within that particular area, or something happens and the door closes on that particular thing that you were doing, it is good and beneficial to have a hobby or a goal in place. And that way, the transition between one door closing and a window opening is a much smoother transition. It doesn't mean that you're going to do that particular thing for the rest of your life, or it doesn't mean that that is your absolute career goal. But what it is a transition period. And if you're not sure what that is, again, I revert back to praying, meditating, being quiet, looking into things. You have to do your part as well. Look into things online, look into things in books. Talk to people about what they do and see if anything resonates with your spirit. Because when you do something that you're good at, and I believe we all have a calling. I think if we work hard enough, we can become good enough at anything. However, if you're doing what you're meant to be doing, if you're doing what you're called to do, it becomes easy. It becomes who you are. And when you walk in this, it defines you, because it's part of who you are, just like your hair, your skin is all part of who you are. And so is this innate career goal or hobby or whatever it is you're doing that brings you fulfillment and joy. And when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it becomes easy and it becomes fun. You know, they say that if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. I think that's what they're referring to, is finding what resonates with you and doing that, and it becomes so natural. So when you're doing it, your abilities just flourish. Your ideas come naturally. Everything about it falls into place. Another little hint of something that I feel really works, and it's been tried and true with me, is an intention board. And it's kind of fun to do this because it gives you not only hope, but it gives you a focus, a positive focus of what you're doing. And by an intention board, I mean you go to any Target, Walmart, whatever, and you get a poster board. And then you cut out things that you want. In other words, it doesn't have to be you exactly. It doesn't have to be a picture of you. But what it is a picture that represents you, represents your goals, represents your wants. And You can have your career goals on there. And if you want a new car, you can have cars on there. Whatever it is that means a lot to you that you're working toward. And what this intention board does, it puts it out into the universe. And I made one several years ago. I didn't expect too much out of it, but I had a sports car on there, just a lot of different things. And then I recently looked at it and I was surprised, pleasantly surprised actually, how many things come to pass. So you make this board and it's just one more avenue of everything you're working toward. And it is exciting to have your career goals. I mean, you're doing your praying and meditating, you're doing your research, books, talking to people, you're doing your intention board. You're hitting it from all sides. And that builds your confidence for your goals and desires to come to pass. I believe if you put your faith and your trust in God, then I believe that you're guided spiritually. Like when I put this sports car on my intention board, I'm going to use this as an example. I might have told you about it in the past, but I'm going to go a little more into detail with it. It was a red sports car, and I just had it on there just for, I don't know, it was kind of a goal or a dream in the back of my head, not knowing if it would happen. But one day I was sitting at home, and I felt to go to this car lot. It was just a strong feeling. I don't know if you've ever had like a pull almost. So I went to this car lot, and sitting right in front was this red convertible sports car. It was used, but it was beautiful to me. And it was exactly what I wanted. It was amazing. And it was in the price range that I could afford. So anyway, consequently, I ended up getting this car. And that's just one example of the intention board, putting your faith, putting your trust out there. And if you hit it from all sides, like I said, if you hit it from the angle of praying, fasting, intention board, doing your physical homework, doing research, talking to people, you can't go wrong because in your mind is in the place where it should be. It's focused on achieving that goal, achieving that dream. And remember that no matter what you do, you don't do it with the intention of doing it for anybody else, of impressing anybody else. You don't even need to tell anybody else about it unless you want to confide in somebody for a particular reason. Because I mentioned in a previous episode that sometimes people can put negative thoughts out there about what you're doing. Personally, I feel like when I tell somebody or somebody's too much about what I'm doing, I feel like it waters it down. I feel like when I hold it within myself, it's stronger. I think one of the biggest things in life that causes depression, frustration, a number of negatives is doing something to please other people. In other words, being a people pleaser. Because when you do that, first of all, you're second guessing what other people want. But also, you're not becoming yourself as an individual. You're not becoming your true self. So when you do something for you, pretty soon you will find that your need to be accepted or approved by others diminishes. And then you're around people because you want to be, not because you need them or you need their feedback or their approval. With all of the mental health issues going on, I think if we took people pleasing away from most of us, that the mental health issue would diminish high percentage, because you can never really please anybody else, because in general, I think everybody is more consumed with themselves. And they should be. We all should be consumed with what we're doing. And if we have responsibility of taking care of someone else or the people we love, but if you find what makes you happy, it's more of the journey, not so much the destination. And it doesn't mean the particular thing that you're interested in right now is ultimately what you're going to be doing. But it does soften the transition as you're growing and going toward the end game as to what you're going for. So in other words, it's finding out what stimulates you, what's good for you. And I think when you find that, you're more free to love and be engaged in what everybody else is doing. I believe you're a happier person. And if you notice, when you're happier, then everybody else around you is happier because you're giving off a good positive energy. Because someone who's not happy with who they are can set the stage for the whole room or even the whole house. So ultimately, I think it's about finding what stimulates you, what's good for you. And again, I can't emphasize it enough. It's not about what somebody else thinks you should be doing, what somebody else is interested in, so you're going to get interested in that to please them. It's not about anybody else. You don't even need to talk to anybody else unless you need some private consoling with a trusted person. But as far as telling someone to impress them, that waters down what you're going for, what your dream is. It's not until something comes to pass that I would even tell anyone. And even then, when you tell someone, you tell them for the right reason. Before you tell someone what you're doing, think to yourself, am I doing this for the right reason? Or am I doing this to impress them? That's a big question that we all have before ourselves when we tell someone what we're doing. And when you're established firmly, when you're stepping into who you are, what you're good at, what you want to do, what makes you you, you become more of a magnet to everybody else. We've talked about being in good shape physically, doing your exercising. It helps your body and your mind. We talked about being in the right frame of mind spiritually. We talked about walking independently, being a leader, not a follower. But now it's time to step into who you are. And once you do that, I believe that all your other relationships will get stronger as well. Because you're going to find, even if you don't think so right now, you're going to find when you find what your particular calling is, when you walk into that, without even intentionally doing it, you will find that you don't need people for the wrong reasons. When you're around people, when you call people, when you want to spend time with someone, it's because that's what you want, not so much what you need, but it's what you want. But then again, you're feeling okay with being by yourself because you're confident in who you are. It's part of walking in being your best self. I'm very excited for you to walk in being your best self. But if you're not sure what that is, if you have an interim goal or career in mind, it helps to soften the transition while you're waiting for your ultimate goal, career, whatever it is, to fall into place. So don't be afraid to do something temporarily in the meantime. With that being said, this is just another step toward our journey of being our best selves, being the person who we are meant to be. That, I believe, should be a prayer of all of ours, to be the person that we were meant to be. Not the person who anyone else wants us to be, but the person that we are meant to be. And don't get discouraged if it is taking longer than you anticipated. But be excited that you're working toward it and it will come. I was just listening to a woman talk about this particular generation that everything seems to be so out of reach. But it made me start to think about, with every generation, there is an obstacle. There is something, there is good and there is bad. So you don't have to look at the negative part of it. Look at the positive, no matter what's going on around you. Keep focused on your dreams, on your goals, on what you want to do, taking care of you, being your best self. And that's what it's all about, is being your best self, being the best that you can be. And again, it's for you, not somebody else. I can't emphasize that enough. It is for you. With that being said, I want to thank you for listening, and I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.